All right, thank you guys and gals. I'm glad to see you back. Our plan today will be as follows. We're going to get going and we're going to expand your base a little bit to give you that platform upon which you can build. And as Pastor Randy said, you will begin to see pieces of this puzzle come together. Now the key is going to be to keep exposing your eye and your ear to what it is that we're learning. I'm going to recommend a few books, but of course one great book that you can begin to read in Portuguese is the Bible. If I were you, I'd get a translation or a version like the NIV in Portuguese, because it's going to stay away from those King James verb tenses that just will destroy you as a learner, because it's some real funky verb tenses. So if you'll get you an NIV, or if you can find, some of you have already got some real good resources that I have seen out here. Brenda and Gary and several more of you have some resources that will be helpful. So just to keep your eye seeing this stuff and to keep your ear hearing it. We're also going to learn some songs today, and Alan would like to begin to teach some, to incorporate some into your worship here, which will begin to ingrain a heart for Brazil and a love for missions. And see, that's what it's going to be like in heaven. As a matter of fact, let me read a passage of Scripture to you. See if you can pick this Scripture out, where it is and what it's saying. Porque foste morto, e como teu sangue compraste para Deus homens de toda a tribo, e língua, e povo, e nação. Revelation chapter 5. Because you were dead, and you bought for God with your blood men from every tongue, tribe, and nation. So, we are training our tongues, and we're putting in our heart through music a heart for the nations. So, let me test your ear this morning on some things we heard last night. Reading is the test for your eye. You'll see things, and reading comes first. Hearing is the test for your ear. It's going to come second. And then the last part in this process is speaking, which is the test for your tongue. And that's usually the thing that comes last. Now, remember the rules that I gave you last night and the shortcuts. So I'm going to say a couple of words and you tell me what they are in English. Give me their English equivalent. Here's the first one. Majestade. Majesty. My goodness, you guys are good. All right, here's another one. Liberdade. Liberty. Excellent. Okay, here's another one. Unidade. Unity. Unity. You got it. Big word theologically, yeah? Unidade da igreja. The unity of the church. All right, here's another one. We heard it just a little while ago. Nação. Nação. Nation. Exactly. Nation. Comparação. Comparison. Exactly. All right, since y'all said this one, I'll give it to you. Paixão. Passion. You've got it. And those are just some very easy rules that help put you way down the road as opposed to just building your vocabulary one at a time. Now, today I'm going to begin by introducing you to probably the second most difficult concept in Portuguese language learning for English speakers, and it's the concept of gender. Because in English we don't have gender. The only gender we have is we do have a neuter, which is it. And most everything falls in that category. Interestingly enough, Portuguese does not have a neuter. So the word it does not exist in Portuguese. There's some words that just don't exist. It is one of them. Everything in Portuguese, everything in the Brazilian world is either masculine or feminine. And sometimes there are general rules, and other times everything just flies out the window and it is what it is. But it doesn't matter whether it's a table, whether it's a chair, it is masculine or feminine. Now the thing about this is the entire grammar structure is going to really hinge on that. Because if we have a chair, then your direct object or your indirect object, your DO or your IO, has got to agree. Not only does your articles, let me back that up. Your definite article or your indefinite article, your articles have got to agree. And then on this side, your adjectives have got to agree. And also your prepositions have got to agree. In gender and in number. So you can understand real quickly how if you get the gender of chair wrong, how everything in that sentence is going to begin to implode. My best guess is once you take a stab at it, and sometimes it's 50-50, and as the rule says, Murphy's Law, if it's 50-50, most of the time you'll get it 100% wrong. But once you go with it, be consistent. If you take a stab and say chair is feminine, then you're going to start out with a feminine article. Your adjectives are going to be feminine as well, and also your prepositions. And at least you're consistent and you're not flip-flopping. Now, Brazilians tell me that American missionaries that are there 15 and 20 years will still have trouble with this. Brazilians are born with the innate ability to look at something and just know if it's feminine or masculine, and that concept to us will always be foreign. It's something that'll test you. So, let's get to work on it and see how it is that it shakes out. Because again, we're going to start with the reading aspect and just following what other folks say and taking cues from them. So let me start with the articles, the definite articles and the indefinite articles in Portuguese that are masculine and feminine. So let's do it like this. Let's do masculine singular. Let's do masculine plural. And over here we're going to do feminine singular and feminine plural. Okay? And over here on this side of your paper, you might want to write definite article, D-A. And then we'll look at some indefinite articles. Now, the masculine definite article is simply the letter A. But you say it, ooh. For example, the general rule is if a noun ends in an O, then it will generally be masculine. For example, let's go down here so I don't mess my... What is this word? How do we say it?
Kahu.
Kahu. Kahu. Remember? Double R's make an H. So we can observe something about that word by looking at it and hearing it, knowing that it ends in an O, gives us a pretty good clue that it's going to be masculine. So we would say, o carro. Now, if it was two cars, it would be os. Say it with me. Os. Os. Exactly right. One car. O carro. Two cars. Os carros. We would just put an S on the end to make the noun plural. Say it with me. Singular. O carro. Say it with me, plural. Two. Os. Os. It's almost like there's an I in there. Os carros. Okay? Now, there is our masculine singular and masculine plural for our definite article. The definite article singular is simply the letter A. A. For feminine plural, it's going to be as. 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 A. a word. Of all the Brazilian Portuguese words, come up what? House. Let's use house. The word for house is?
Casa.
Casa. So if it was one house, it's going to be a casa. If it's two houses, it's going to be casas. Okay? Now again, you'll be able to pick this out by looking and by hearing. And the only way to get this masculine feminine thing is by hearing it and observing it and reading it, because it just doesn't exist for us in our language. But everything, there is no neuter, so we can't go to default. Everything is either masculine or plural. And I tell you, yes sir.
So that could be masculine as well then.
What's that? This?
Casas could be masculine.
No, it's always.
It's always feminine.
Always feminine.
Who decided that?
The gods of Portuguese years ago, before the foundation of the world, decided what was going to be feminine and what was going to be masculine. That's right. Or the council of the Tower of Babel. It probably is where it came from. Yes, sir.
So, your definite article, in this case, you're translating these as the?
Yes, that's exactly right. It's the.
The.
So this would be the houses. You see, in English, our definite article doesn't change,
right,
but in Portuguese it will. As, casas, the houses, a casa, the house, singular. It's exactly right. That's your definite article. Good point. I didn't put that up there in your translation, but this is the. Definite article is the. Now let's move
Would
to...
never be translated a house?
We can do that. If you want to translate it a house, then your masculine, let's draw a line right here. And let's go back to our plural with car. If it's a car, then you are going to have you. It's actually U-M, but it sounds like, yeah, it sounds like an N. So it would be which is literally one. One car. If it's two cars, then you remember that what that M does when we make it plural? Then it's going to go to NS, and you're going to have multiple cars. Uns carros. Now on this side, if it's casa, Pastor Randy, it's going to be one again, but it's translated a. Translation here is a car, and it's the same here. Well, we wouldn't say cars, but they do in Portuguese.
Like those cars.
Yeah. Uma casa. A house. A house. And there is no plural there. As a matter of fact, for the definite, I have never even indefinite. I've never even heard this. So what I would do with you is if I would just focus on the one, because it's got to be singular.
Can you say the number? Like,
Is always the.
Is always the, singular, feminine, and so on. Now, there are your definite articles. Your definite articles, remember, the. Ice. For example, if they are saying the Baptist, they would say Ois Ois Batistas. Now you see, here is a deviation from the rule because we got something that ends in A, but yet it's masculine. Os bachistas. Okay? Now, let's build on our sentence a little bit. Let's grab us another word. Let's use the word. What is that word? Good catch, eh? Gatu. Gatu is cat. Exactly right. Cat. So, how would we say the cat? O gato. Now, how would we say the black cat? Well, word order in Portuguese is inverted from English. Your descriptive words, such as adjectives, are going to come after the subject rather than before. So if we wanted to say the black cat, we would say, and again, this is masculine, so our adjective has to be masculine as well. The word for black is preto. If it was feminine, it would be preta. So here we have the cat black. See, if you're listening to a Brazilian speak and you're translating and he says, o gato preto, we would translate that, the black cat. In the beginning stages of our translators, our interpreters, we have this difficulty with them. They want to do a word-for-word thing. And it ends up being inverted for us. And the same way when they're translating us into Portuguese, it's inverted for the Brazilians because it's that rigid word-for-word. Just happen to know that their word order is a little bit different. All right?
Not to further confuse them, but if somebody was saying, if you were talking and you might talk to somebody and she talks about her cat and she says, "A gato preta."
A gata.
Gata preta. You know that she's talking about her girl cat that may be having babies. You know,
Right.
confused. Like,
Only things that have sex will change like that. Most other things will always forever be what they are. For example, cadeira is chair. It's always going to be feminine. The only thing that will change is if you have a cat or a dog or something that actually has gender, then it's sensitive to change. But most everything else will always stay. Now, let's continue to build on this sentence using our idea, our concept of gender. The black cat. Let's say the black cat bit somebody. Now, verb's going to be after this, but let me go ahead and give you a verb. The black cat bit. Here's the past tense, third person, past, singular. Mordeu. The black cat bit. Here is an oblique pronoun, which is for her. The black cat bit her, and here is our preposition, and here's what he bit her on. What is this word? Braço. Arm. Braço. For example, here's some more etymology. Let me give it to you. Look at this word in English. What's that word?
Embrace.
Embrace. What is this prefix? In. And what is this root word? In arms. So when you hug somebody, they are literally in arms. The Portuguese for hug, and they are big huggers, is abraço. And that's kind of how the word evolves down from the family that we looked at last night. Abraço. So, what we have here is the cat black. The black cat bit her in or on the arm. So let's stop right there and let's analyze all of this, because the next thing I want you to add to this feminine and masculine list of yours is prepositions. And here's our preposition. Okay? Now, the preposition, all prepositions stem, or this family of prepositions stem from this word. You pronounce it how? Aim. Aim. And it means, it can mean on, it can mean at, or it can mean in, depending on the context.
When you stop and write and talk to me.
I will. Now, Portuguese does something that I'm not too sure English does. It commonly does something that's known as elision. An elision is basically when they take two words and they jam them together. That's what happens in prepositions a lot. For example, when we have in the, we have a preposition and then we have a definite article. Those two are going to elide to make one word. So, in the, you know that the O on the end of it means that's a masculine preposition. So, in the is simply in plus O equals, neat trick, huh? Nu. We say that nu. So the black cat bit her no braço, on the arm. We would never say em o braço. But we take in and o, we jam them together, or they jam them together, and they come up with nu. It is the masculine singular. Now, if he bit her in both arms, that preposition has also got to be plural. So if he bit her in both arms, what would we do? You just add an S to it. Exactly right. The black cat mordeu-la nos braços. Now we have a preposition that is masculine singular. When you add an S, it is masculine plural. Now, if the black cat bit her, let's say the black cat bit her on the head. The black cat bit her on the head. What do you think our preposition is going to? It's going to elide, and what's it going to come out to be? Since this is feminine. Exactly right. It's going to be in, aim plus the definite article a, because your object is now feminine, and you're going to change that to na. The black cat bit her na cabeça. And to make it plural, if you bit her in both of her heads, then nas. The black cat bit her nas cabeças. This is prepositions. Prepositions are very key in the Portuguese sentence structure, and they have to agree in gender, masculine or feminine, and in number, singular or plural, with the object that they are describing. Okay, so there is in the, or on the, or it could be at the. All the very same word. Now let's move to another one. Let's say let's go to the preposition that is translated as for. A sentence. Okay? went to the store for bread. Okay, for bread.
Milk.
Milk, okay.
Amen.
Richie, you'll go get the bread, okay?
Yeah. Okay. And we're going to get into these pronouns in just a minute. Ellie, you'll see that on the bathroom door. Ellie, he. If it's going to be feminine, Ella. Exactly right. Okay. Let's say he went to the store for milk. The Portuguese word is leite. Leite. For milk.
Time out.
Uh-huh.
You gotta be confused.
Okay.
How can he be a feminine?
No. If this was a her.
If it was a she?
Yeah.
Okay.
If it was
she.
Yeah. If Heather went to the store rather than me, it would be Ella. Yeah, that's he and she. Exactly. Okay. So for milk. And it's very simple. Here's the root preposition from which we get the word for. How would we say that? Using our rules of pronunciation? Full. You want to blow. Blow that H at the end. Pull. That's right. Bring it out of your throat. Pull. So, full leite. But now remember, we're still in the elision business here with our prepositions. They love to elide prepositions. If we were going to say for o carro. He went to town for the car. For o carro. We're going to elide these two and it's going to become a different animal. This is your masculine for the singular. And we say that pelo. 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 For the. Now, if it was you were doing something for the house, what would happen?
Pela.
Pela. Exactly right. That would turn to an A. If it was houses plural, we would just simply pelas. Okay?
Richie,
Yes, sir.
if we don't do that, like if we forget, is it bad, or are we just going to sound uneducated by if we don't allow
Like
those?
if she
They'll
said,
correct.
"Hey, look,
I mean, are they going to understand?
Probably will.
Okay.
And they'll probably at the same time correct you.
That's all right too.
Uh-huh. You have to remember.
I just don't want to go to the store for the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Just don't buy bread.
One of my Portuguese teachers told me in the beginning, because everywhere I go, people were correcting me, and they don't mean to be rude. They're just helping you.
It does sound rude.
But it does sound rude. You Heather gets offended sometimes. But one of my Portuguese teachers told me that the goal in speaking is communication. And if someone understood you well enough to correct your grammar, guess what? You communicated. Yeah. So that's the goal.
Richie,
Yes.
I lost what Ella was and Ella.
Okay. Those are. Yeah. I was going to build a sentence and then I stopped because we're going to get to that later. This is he. Ellie is he. Ella is she. I was going to write a sentence and I realized we hadn't done those yet. Ella is she. You'll have that by the time we get through with verb paradigms. You'll have those words down very well. Okay. So there is masculine and feminine. And again,
Do a sentence.
I will do a sentence. Let me do a sentence. Here's a phrase that Brazilians will use quite often. Let me give you a word. This is a big word that is going to be in your vocabulary. How do you say it?
Deus.
Remember this? El. El. I. El. So this is Deus. Deus equals God. You will hear Brazilians say quite often, for the love of God. And they mean it the same way we do. I can't believe this is happening. For the love of God. So, there you have a preposition, a definite article, and a noun. So, let's get to work on that. First thing you got to do, and saying this or writing it, is you got to figure out, is amor masculine or plural? Because it's the verb, it's the noun, it's the substantive in that phrase. So is amor masculine or is it feminine?
Depending on what you're looking.
No, don't depend on anything.
Doesn't matter that you're more in
No.
God versus.
No,
Okay.
not sensitive to the
Always
object.
one or the other.
It's always one or the other. So, the only way to know that is for Pastor Richie to tell you. You can look. Let me give you a recommendation at this point. The best, bar none, dictionary for Brazilian Portuguese that's out there that I know of is the Larousse. You can pick this up right down here at Books A Million, or you can get it. Barnes & Noble, or you can just go to Amazon and get it. This is the one that you want to get. And let's see what the price is on this one. About $18 or so. But when you look up a word, a noun, it will tell you if it's masculine or feminine. It'll simply have out beside it, it'll have an M or an F, respectively. Now, amor is going to be masculine. So, for the, how do we make that preposition masculine, singular? For the, got it. Here we go. Pelo amor. Here's another preposition that we're about to learn. Of always comes from the word de. De. Pelo amor de Deus. Say it with me. Pelo amor de Deus. Now you say it by yourself. Pelo amor de Deus. Exactly right. Now, this preposition right here looms rather large in the language of Portuguese. You have already heard it a million times as you have interacted with Brazilians. De is the preposition from which we get the meaning or the translation of. And it has various meanings, but nonetheless, it's of. Now, let's do the same thing with this preposition as we did with the other prepositions when we experience a collision or elision. So here we go, kind of. Masculine singular, masculine plural, feminine singular, and feminine plural of G, which means of. We're going to use our 3x5 note cards in a minute, but this is good stuff to put on them as well. You can do it just like this with your preposition. At the top of the page, put G equals of. Underneath that, put your 4 columns, MS, MP, FS, FP. Now, if we have a sentence that says, of the car, it is masculine because we know that carro ends in an O, so it's masculine. So if something is of the car, rather than o carro, of the, when these two align, what are we going to end up with? Exactly right. Do copy. Now, if it's a plural noun, we're going to have an S on it, then our preposition as well. And then we got dois carros. Dois of the cars. Now let's grab us a feminine. Let's use this word right here for chair. That is pronounced cadeira. Cadeira, the chair. So, of the chair, it's going to be G plus your definite article, and you're going to come up with? You're going to come up with da. That's right. Da. Da cadeira. Da casa. You'll hear them say this a lot. Speaking of ladies, you will hear them call someone dona da casa. Means that she is, the woman of the house. She's the lady of the house. She's the owner of the house. All of those ideas go into that. It's a title of prestige. Dona da casa. And you can see what they did. They just elided G and A to make it gender and number sensitive, and they come up with da. Now, if it's multiple, let's say donas and casas, what is our? Exactly right. We're going to go now to das. Donas, das casas. If we have a women's ministry at church, which is for the ladies of the houses, donas das casas. Okay. A very important piece of information, because they are fond of their prepositions and eliding them. Any questions? Let me give you one more prep, and we're good. This is my favorite because it's the same across the board. And it is the preposition. And by our rules of pronunciation, how would we say this? Con. Con. Which means with. Exactly right. So, if I would like a sandwich with ham, I would say com, this is ham, presunto. And con is going to be the same no matter if it's feminine or masculine. So we like it, don't we? Con's our favorite already. Because he don't throw us any curveballs.
Is it number sensitive?
No, it's not. Now, the curve that it's going to throw us is when we say with you, with me, with us. Because it's going to elide with its preposition. Do you want me to give you those real quick?
Sure. Of course we do.
I'd be disappointed if you did.
Would you really? Okay. With me. He is coming to Brazil with me. Instead of saying com plus the preposition me, this elides, and you're going to see how it even sounds better. With me, well, we're going to have a collision or elision of com, and don't ask me where they got that from, but there it is. Comigo. Comigo. With me. Now, if he is going to Brazil with you, we're going to align again, and it's going to be contigo. Contigo. Now we can kind of see that one because chi is one of the derivatives of you. Now,
With you is
contigo.
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 On the
With me.
first one, the comigo,
Comigo, yes.
comigo,
Yes.
if the me is feminine, does that change to a?
No. No, this is another one that doesn't change.
Doesn't change.
Heather would say comigo exactly the same way I say comigo. There are some things that are sensitive. The only thing that I know that's sensitive, for instance, is thank you. A man says obrigado. A woman says obrigada. But most everything else is not sensitive, only as some of those other prepositions and articles as it relates to whatever the subject is. But this doesn't. But that's a good question. And I don't know why it doesn't, but it doesn't.
So
Now, yes.
So if I say obrigada, I say that with an A. Because
With an A.
I'm feminine.
Because you're feminine.
That threw me because they kept trying to tell me that because I was saying
Say it all the time
obrigado
to
and they were like,
anybody.
no.
Yeah.
And I was going, okay. Well, so then I thought it was who I said it to.
No.
Oh, I get it.
That is one of the only things that is sensitive based upon the speaker rather than the subject.
All right.
As far as I know, it's the only thing in all of Portuguese that is sensitive to who is saying it
Yeah,
rather
'cause I
than
kept
who
going,
you're
wait,
saying it
and then
to.
laugh.
Obrigado.
That was
Obrigada. And Brazilians are great as we are of shortening things. Here it is. Obrigado for boys, a for girls. And most of the time on the street, you'll hear Brazilians just say this. Obrigado. Obrigado. Okay, now we got with me, with you. How about with us? He is going to Brazil with us. Then we do this. Conosco. Conosco. With us. Now, what we have now is everything we need except one piece to begin to start putting together sentences. We have our articles. We have our vocabulary with a few nouns. We have our prepositions. And we have looked at a few adjectives. And last night you put together adverbs by adding what ending to ly words? Mente. Rapidamente. Quickly. Rapidamente. Immediately. Imediatamente. Immediately. So now we are ready to start putting all of this together into coherent sentences. We've only got one piece, and that is the verb. The verb. So this is where I want you to get out your 3x5 note cards. And I want you to pretend, I'm going to show you the pattern of how I want you to write these paradigms. And the way I did this when I began to learn Portuguese is I got my 3x5 note, well I did this in Greek and Hebrew as well. I got my 3x5 note cards, and once I had them all made, I punched a hole in the corner, and I went up and got one of those key rings they sell at the school supply store for note cards, and you can just you'd be amazed how much time you have during the day to stay. For instance, when you're standing in line at the DMV, you've got 2 or 3 hours right there. You can be flipping note cards. You'll be amazed how much time you've got standing in lines, stopped at red lights. Somebody's calculated how much time we spend waiting in line. Well, you can take these note cards with that key ring, and they're with you all the time. And I tell you, that's the way you get these verb paradigms. I wish there was a quick way, but there's not. So I want you to pretend that this is a 3x5 note card. And I'm going to show you how it is I want you to put it on your note card, and we'll do that on every one of them. And this is what will happen when you begin to speak. You will visualize for that verb your note card. You will think, what person am I speaking? Am I speaking in the second person? Am I speaking singular or plural? And your mind will go to that verb chart and you'll grab that verb right out of it once you have this down in your mind. Now, remember this, it's very important, because in your dictionary, Portuguese verbs are always listed in the infinitive form. But throughout the conjugation, they change greatly. So if you just see a verb, you go to look it up. If you don't know its infinitive form, you're probably not going to find it in the dictionary. The infinitive simply means to. To whatever. Now, our paradigm verb there are three classes of Portuguese verbs. We have the AR class, which means they end in AR. We have the ER class. They end in
Are we
ER.
on the 3x5 cards?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. I'm sorry. And then we have the IR verbs. Now, when I first started working in the language about 8 or 9 years ago, if my Brazilian speakers would stay in just the AR verb class, I could nail it. Because it's the easiest. They get a little bit more difficult as we go through that sequence, but nonetheless, that is the form that you're always going to find them in the dictionary.
And AR is what?
ER, AR, ER, and IR. It's just three classes of verbs. It's the ending. For example, AR. Let me give you an example of an AR verb. Where did my eraser go? Does anybody? Thank you. Thank you, Cody. Okay. An AR verb, an example of an AR verb, which is going to be our paradigm verb. Now, how would you say that? You got to blow that last R. You're right. You hit it. Falar. Listen, it is not falar. If you say falar, they don't have a clue what you're talking about, because that's a whole other animal for them. We as English speakers are one of the only languages that don't do something funky. Well, we probably are. We are the ones that do something funky with the R. For example, I was watching a show the other night. Matter of fact, it was Larry the Cable Guy in Boston. Yeah, it was educational TV. And he was getting lessons on how to speak Bostonian. And this is what his guide told him. He says, if you'll remember this, never pronounce the R, you can speak like us. So see, even here, yeah, we have dialects here that R does strange things. It's all over the board. For example, in Boston, if you were getting in your car, you would go to the car. You see? So it's really not that strange of a concept. In Brazil, this final R, you got to blow it. They would always tell me, when you say an infinitive, I want to smell your breath. Falar. You got to blow it. So, here we have falar. Now, our paradigm ER verb is going to be, give me one, Heather. No, because it's irregular. Let me give you ER, and we'll come back. Out of a million ER verbs. No. ER verb is going to be kai. Now let me get falar. I didn't give you what it means, did I? Nope. That would be to speak. That's AR. To speak. Kai. Say it with me. Kai. That's right. It means to
I know, Richie, to eat.
fall. Very good. Thank you. To fall. Now, our paradigm ER verb today is going to be, take a stab. Comer. Comer, and it means to eat. Now, that's what I mean when I say there are three classes of verbs in Portuguese. Your verb's either going to end with AR, ER, or IR. And there are none besides these. Now,
This is because we're talking right now in these classes, are all verbs not, we're talking about infinitive verbs.
that's
Which is always
no,
two.
all verbs have an infinitive form, And that is what they will be listed in your dictionary.
But infinitive means to.
Two,
T-O.
yes. For example, this morning you gave me a verb. We talked about looking forward to. And in Brazil, there's really not expressions like, man, we're looking forward to our time with you next fall. They don't have that. So we got to come up with another word. So we use the word anticipate. And in Portuguese, that would be antecipar. Just say it like you would in Brazil. Put an AR on the end of it. A lot of our verbs do that. Antecipar. But we're going to learn how to conjugate it, because you would not say we are anticipa, because then you got an infinitive with a second person plural verb and it don't match. So your sentence would literally be, we to anticipate our trip. So you see that, so we're going to learn to conjugate those verbs, and that's what these paradigms are for. Now, when I give you one of these, you can just write it down on the inside of your eyelids. ARs will always do that unless they're irregular. Yes, sir.
And the ER,
Uh-huh.
what does it sound like?
Come.
It sounds like an H.
Come. EH. Come. That's right. And same thing with I. E. Kai. Kai. And AR would be Fala.
You're blowing that H on every one of them.
You're blowing that H. Almost to where it makes you uncomfortable. Fala. Remember, they're very expressive. They enunciate very clearly. Okay, now, let's get to our 3x5 card. Now, just pretend that this board is my 3x5. You write the same way on yours, because this is going to be our pattern for these verbs. We are going to put right across the top line, we're going to put fala. And then we're going to put its definition. To speak. Then underneath that, in parentheses, I want you to put present. Because it's going to be present tense that we're going to conjugate. It's going to be active voice. And it's going to be indicative mood. Indicative mood is used just to tell a story or relate facts. For instance, you realize that there is also an imperative mood. Imperative does what? Gives a command. So it'll change a little bit. And then Brazilians are very fond of the subjunctive mood, which expresses potential action. That is the most difficult of all the moods. My Brazilian friends tell me that along with gender for Americans, American missionaries who have lived in Brazil 25 years still struggle with the subjunctive, and I know Pastor Richie struggles with it every time he stands up to speak. It's very difficult. But if you can get the present active indicative and the past active of the indicative, man, you are a long way down the road for communicating. Okay? So now, this is the way your card looks. Fala. This is your AR paradigm of the present active indicative. Now I want you to do like this. I want you to make two columns. I want you to, right here, I want you to make singular, draw a line under it. And on this side, I want you to write the word plural. And draw a line under that. And out here, one line below singular, I want you to write first person. Maybe skip a line to just make it fit on your card. Nice and neat. Do second person. And then skip another line and do third person. Now let me stop right there and explain what this is. First person singular is I. Second person singular is you. Third person singular is he or she. In English we say he, she, or it. But remember, in Brazil, it just disappeared. Because everything is either masculine or feminine. Now, first person plural would be we. Second person plural would be you. And see, here's an advantage that we have in Portuguese. Even in reading our Bible and understanding our Bible, we don't have in English. In English, there's no distinction. It's all you. You know, there's a lot of passages that are misinterpreted in the Bible because we apply them to individuals when the writer was writing to the group, the church. Well, in Portuguese, we can see that immediately. So my Portuguese preaching students, they don't misapply because of a misunderstanding of a pronoun, because they're different. Our Greek teacher, one of my professors in seminary, would always let us translate this second person plural as y'all. We bring the southern dialect in just to make the distinction. Y'all. You all. So, we, first person plural. You, all, second person plural. And they is your third person plural. Now, first person plural, first person singular of falar. Follow. Oh yeah, Heather wants me to do L, E, U, follow. L, follow. And out here by the side, if you can, put I, speak. L, follow. Say it with me. L, follow. L, follow. Okay? You speak. Now again, at this point, I'm teaching you street Portuguese, not formal Portuguese, because that's the world in which we live. Street Portuguese, you is você. V-O-C with an E with a birdhouse over it. That's known as the circumflex accent mark. And since the letter C is followed by an E, it doesn't need the cedilla to make the S sound. So we have você. So now, você speak. Fala with an A. Você fala. You see the difference in fala and fala? That's huge. We as Americans want to put those together in our laziness sometimes, but we can't do that in Brazil. You speak. You can fit that all on your line.
Just out of curiosity, what is the formal?
Two. It would be, well, never mind. I'm not even going to go there. Let's keep, but it would be two. Yeah. Now, third person is going to be Ele or Ella, which is he or she. And here's where you get a break, because in informal Portuguese, the second and the third are always exactly the same. Ele fala, he speaks, or ela fala is the same. Now, I don't want you to have two lines there, but just know that ele, you can do a slash like that, but ela as well. That's your third person for he or she speaks. Fala. The same way. Fala. I will at the end. Okay, now let's go to plural, to we.
Refresh my memory. I know it's the way it is, that's the paradigm, but why from first person to second person does the ending change from old to old?
Because this is what makes Portuguese difficult. There's about 20 different paradigms of verb tenses and moods and voices, and they're all on the table. And the verb changes in every person and in every number. English doesn't. Somebody was asking me before the class started. Clint was asking me, which is the hardest language to learn as a second language, English or Portuguese? And it is, hands down, even Brazilians who speak English would tell you that English is much more simple. Why? Because the verb doesn't change like this. This is just the way it changes throughout its paradigm.
Okay, it's just the way it is. There's no,
It's just the way it is, yep.
forgotten the basic rule.
No, you have not. But now once we get this established, it's always going to be like this for this class of verb. So there is consistency, even in its inconsistency. Now, we speak. The pronoun for we is noise. Noise. We. Noise with an accent. Noise. And here's your verb. Falamos. Say it with me. Noise. Falamos. Noise. Noise. Falamos. It's all this S is almost a like Z. Noise. Falamos. Noise. Falamos. Okay? Now, your second person plural is vocês. Vocês. And we just add an S to você, but that is very helpful when you listen to people talk as to whether they're talking about a group or one individual. Vocês. Vocês. Y'all speak. Vocês. Vocês falam. Say it with me. Vocês. Vocês falam. Okay, now for they. For they. We are going to have, I'm going to take this off so I have a little bit of room. The third person plural is, we are simply going to add an S to Ellie, and that's going to be Ellie's. If it's a group of women, it's going to be what? Ella's. And you have another great advantage here because the second and the third and the plural in street Portuguese is the same. So we have Ellie's falam when you're speaking to a group or about a group. Now, here's something interesting about the gender in Portuguese. Yes, sir?
What would you do if it was a mixed group?
That's what I'm about to tell you. You read my map. You read my map. This is pretty cool in Portuguese as it relates to language learning because it helps us. There can be a group of 10,000 women here. It's a women's conference. But there's one unlucky pastor who got nominated to drive the church bus and he's present. So one man negates 10,000 women linguistically. If there's one man sitting there, the group becomes masculine. So it's Ellie's. I think I'm something. I like that, boy. Can't you tell? I'm enjoying this. So if it's a mixed group, it's masculine. If there's one man in the crowd, it's masculine. The only time it's they is if you're talking about a group of women. They went to get their hair fixed. Ella's. Yeah. Now, this, ladies and gentlemen, is your AR paradigm in the present tense. So, if you want to speak to someone, or if you are speaking, how would you say that? Eu falo. I speak. Eu falo. If you are speaking, você fala. So there's your paradigm. Now let me give you your ER paradigm. I'm going to give you some of these basic paradigms. Then we're going to do some sentence structure. Oh, I forgot.
And I think you confuse.
Here we go.
You say if you are speaking, you're actually in the word speak. You don't mean if you're actually talking.
That's the ING, right?
They do it both ways. Yeah, they do. They do it sometimes. But strictly, it's I speak. I speak of great things. Eu falo de coisas ótimas. I speak of great things would be literally how you, or you speak out of both sides of your mouth. Would be literally how it is. Now, let me show you the pattern and underline this on your paradigm. O is always singular. First person singular in this paradigm. Always. A, second person singular. AM, third person singular. I still remember in Greek. O ice, I, amen eti usi.
That's
It's just an A.
What now?
It's not AM, it's A.
Where?
You erase that.
Third person singular.
Third person singular.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, thank you. I remember these endings from, it's just the way you do it in Greek. First person, active, indicative, present. O, second person, I, third person, ice. O ice, I, amen eti usi. And it's the same way in Portuguese, just a little different sound. O, amus. There's your consistency. You pick an AR verb. As a matter of fact, we're going to do that now. I'm going to give you an AR verb in its infinitive form, and I want you to conjugate that baby for me right up here in the present active indicative. So, here is our verb. Canta. Say it with me. Canta. Anybody have an idea what it might mean? To sing. How'd you know that? Cantata. See, there you go. You're starting to make connections now. Right. So this is to sing. Something that they don't ask me in Brazil unless I'm in a school with 400 students. Right? Yeah, I'm on fire. Malthus, you guys will meet Malthus. He'll translate for you on your October trip. He was standing next to me one day, and we were somewhere, and I was preaching, and he was leading worship, and he was standing next to me before he got up there. And we were singing, and I was having a good time. He looked at me and he said, "Man, you're a good preacher." In other words, shut up. To sing, canta. Okay, what would it be? El canto. Você. Você canta. Ele canta. Nós cantamos. You see where that accent always is? On that second to the last syllable. Okay? Vocês cantam. Kind of fall off with it. Vocês cantam. E eles. On this particular case, it kind of retains its M sound on the verb. Cantam. Eles cantam. And this is, notice again, here's your paradigm. It's going to stay that way. Let me give you one more, because we're going to learn some. Desculpa. Desculpa means excuse me. Excuse me. Canto?
That's C-A-N-T-A.
It is. Excuse my.
Last one down there, O, is that C-O or C-A?
Yeah. It's A. It's always A. Yes, sir. That's right. Canta. No, it's just my writing. Canta. Okay? There's another one that we're going to use because we're going to learn a song here in a little while, and it plays pretty big in that song. It is the verb L-O-U-V-A-R. Louvar. Louvar. It means to praise. And guess what? It conjugates just like this. Eu louvo. Você louva. Ele louva. Nós louvamos. Vocês louvam. Eles louvam. Okay? Let me give you some more AR verbs, and you can work these out yourself. You won't need me to do it because now you know the pattern. So let me put some up here. Você. You. The only warning I would give you is praying is the hardest thing for me in Portuguese. I I'd rather preach a 45-minute message than pray the benediction at the end of it, because all the verb tenses changes and the rules go back to formality. It's considered irreverent to refer to God, you, as both say. It's always tu. And that changes the verb form a little bit. So praying is a difficult thing. Speaking of the word pray, it's an AR verb. We pronounce it ora. Ora. Now this is kind of sensitive in our work as evangelical Protestants as well, because Catholic praying is a whole nother word. And you can usually tell something about somebody's theology if they say they pray and they do not use the word ora. It may. If you look up in the English part of your dictionary to pray, it may give you that Catholic thing. You always want to use this as an evangelical. We ora. We talk with. We pray to God. A few more verbs. Where's those songs? Let me pull out all the verbs that we got in these songs here. Okay, here's one that we're going to use in one of the songs. Somebody want to cria. To create. To create. Here's another. Here's another AR verb, forma. And you can see what it is. Sometimes they give themselves away. To form. Cria. Cria. Okay. Here is another AR verb. Adora. What does it mean? To worship. Remember, our adoration would be adoração. To worship is the noun. Okay? Another AR verb. Here we go. Oferta. What does it mean? To offer. To offer.
How would you say offer rent?
No, they don't have a noun for it. They would say our sacrifice, nosso sacrifício. They would say tithes and offerings. They would say dízimos. Dízimo from the word ten, for a tenth, but offering, they don't make it into a noun. Okay? I'm sorry? O-F-E-R-T-A-R. Oferta. Here's another word. Another AR. Let me give you some of these because they're going to come to play just a little bit later when we start singing. We're going to start singing. Singing. Here is our Three Stooges stuff. You remember from last night? Nya, ganya, ganya. It is the word to earn, or it could be to gain. Do you see that? Kind of see gain in it. Ganya. Very good. Okay. Here's another one. Torna. Say it with me. Torna. It means to become. To become. Eu espero esperar. E-S-P-E-R-A-R. Esperar means to hope. So we would conjugate that. I hope to become a carpenter. Eu espero tornar to become carpinteiro. I hope to become a carpenter. Sometimes it does. This is one of those words that has two meanings. It can also mean to wait. By the way, it does that same thing in Hebrew. Do you know that great passage in Isaiah? Whosoever shall wait upon the Lord, whosoever hopes in the Lord, to become intertwined, and it kind of retains that in Portuguese. Now let me give you another one that is large in Brazil. Of the AR class. Gostar. Gostar. And see what you can do tonight or tomorrow or next week or while you're in the line at the DMV. You can take all of these verbs that I'm giving you. You can conjugate them in the present just by following the rules. Gostar. Now the thing about gostar, to like. But gostar is a unique verb in that it always has the preposition behind it. You can never use gostar without the preposition G. For example, if I like, let me do something that's just one word. If I like milk, you remember milk is leite. Eu gosto de leite. I took the first person singular that has an O ending. Eu gosto de leite. And it's always like that. It will never not have G. Now here's the thing. You've got to hit this one because there's another one very close to it. Gostar. There is another verb. Gasta. Now you see, as Americans, in our lazy habit of speaking, we will make them one sound. But in Brazil, you've got to differentiate. To this day, every time I use these two words, I strain to make the differentiation. El gastar means to spend. Heather spends much money. Heather gasta muito dinheiro. She spends much money.
I think I've heard you say that before.
You probably have, brother. If Heather likes money, Heather gosta. No, I put the AR on it. Heather gosta de dinheiro. Exactly right. Okay? Now, at this point, I have got to give you another verb that's important for your conversation.
Before or after bathroom break for everybody's over.
Everybody need one? Take it. Let's take it right now. Of the two be verbs. Now, I'm going to give you the conjugation in the present active indicative. Here is singular. Here is first, second, and third. You can do your cards just like this. Singular, first, second, and third, and plural. First, second, third to go all the way across. Está, say it with me. Está, to be. I am. Eu estou. E-S-T-O-U. El estou. Okay? It refers to things temporary. For example, I am teaching. Eu estou ensinando. That's a trick I'm going to show you in just a little while as well. That's going to be a shortcut for you. Eu estou. Second person. And you'll see this a lot. Of course, I wouldn't recommend you start it now, but in Portuguese, they will write, você, that for singular, they'll just say VC. And on Facebook, they write VC. If it's plural, they'll write VCS. Você, vocês. Você está. It always has an accent over it. If you do not put the accent over it, the word changes from you are to exchanges to become this, feminine. This chair. Esta cadeira.
You write the English under them.
Yeah.
I
am.
am.
You are. And down here, ele is the very same. He is. Ele está. And they will sometimes make that S like a CH. Está. Ele está. On the street, you will very rarely hear the whole word esto. They shorten it and it becomes this. Tô. Tô indo. If they're saying, come on. He'll say, tô indo, I'm going. So a lot of shorthand. Estou, I am. Você está, you are. Ele está, he is. Now plural. Nós estamos. You see, it's following your conjugation to this point. Nós, we are. Now, second person, vocês. Here's where we get a little tricky. Vocês estão. Nasally, with an N almost. Vocês estão. Estão. And the same pose. This is you all are. Eles, the same thing. Estão, which means they are. They will ask me, is Bel Air coming in October? And I will say, eles estão. They are. They are coming. Now the other, this is for something I'm doing. This is where I am. For example, estou aqui em Gulfport. I am here in Gulfport. But if it has to do with something that refers to who I am, then it's another verb altogether. For example, I would never say, eu estou pastor. Pastor is the same word, just pronounced like you were Brazilian. I would never say eu estou because that's something that is permanent about me. It has to do with my being rather than what I'm doing. One has to do with time, the other one is permanent. One has to do with what you're doing, the other one has to do with who you are. So let me give it to you. Is this going to jump out of the, I can leave that. Out of the pattern for just a while. And we're going to start doing some translation here to give you guys.
What they're erasing right now, all the paradigm for temporary?
Yes, this is temporary.
Oh,
Estou.
we just did that.
Está. Está is the temporary for I am. Now I'm going to give you the permanent. And it's going to conjugate very similarly. And it is the verb set. 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 To be. And it refers to being. Permanent. For example, if I stand up to introduce myself, I would not say, eu estou pastor Ricardo. I would say, eu sou pastor Ricardo. See the difference? Eu estou as opposed to eu sou. Being. So let's conjugate this baby. This is huge. You want to make sure you get a good paradigm card on this one. To be. Present, active, indicative. Eu sou. I am. S-O-U. Eu sou. Eu sou Batista. I am a Baptist. If you said estou Batista, it means tomorrow you might be assembling. Or Jehovah's Witness.
Well, we got some that can say that.
Yeah.
We can go either way.
Second person. Você. This is huge. Você é. You see that accent over it? Você é. And it means you are. If this letter, and you'll see it much, if this letter does not have an accent over it, it's just written like that, it is the conjunction and. And there is pronounced almost like the letter E, like the letter I. So E, 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 yeah. Heather, E, Richie. But Heather is Baptist. Heather é Batista. Você é. Good news. Same thing. Ele é. He is. He is a doctor. Ele é médico. Médico. Okay? Nós. This is plural. Get my paradigm scheme back up here. Plural. Nós. Nós somos. Nós somos means we are. Nós somos Batistas. What did I say? We are Baptists. Vocês. Vocês são. Just like the word São Luís. Y'all are. You all are. Vocês são Batistas? Inflection makes it a question. Y'all are Baptists? Certainly not. Y'all are speaking in tongues. Same thing here. Eles or elas, they. Eles são. They are. Eles são Batistas.
What do you say they are saints of God?
Eles são santos judeus. Saints of God.
So they'll know that it's not that you are. One thing is the sound can be you are or saints when you have the S.
It's only saint when it's titled. If it's something they're saints or they are holy, it would be santu or santa. Yeah. Okay, now what I'm going to do at this point, for sake of time, because we want to get into some translation of these songs, there is so much. You feel like you've been drinking out of a fire hydrant already. There's so much to give, and I have so little time. So I think it would be more profitable for you, instead of us going to the ER class right now, is let me give you the past tense of the AR. If you can get the AR verb, the present, the past, and the future. The future is easy. It's going to be a slam dunk. You just wait. You can navigate yourself around in Brazil. So let me give you these, and then we'll just use the rest of our time for whatever we can do.